Bye-bye.
But every time. 205 episodes in, every time. Here we
Yep.
are, 205. Hey, so welcome everybody. Episode 205. We've established that. But we have a couple of announcements to make. The first of which we would like to announce we are doing Beers with the Boys on November 7th, Friday, November 7th, that evening. That's actually Leo's birthday. But when we do Beers with the Boys, he should be asleep. So that should work out okay. Um, that's the first announcement. Beers with the Boys, November 7th. We are skipping the 31st due to Halloween.
And that's all patrons, correct?
All patrons, Beers with the Boys, November 7th. The next announcement is we are getting into the holiday season, being November and December. And just like last year, we are going to go to a bi-weekly schedule. Bi-weekly schedule for the rest of the year so we can enjoy the holidays with friends and family while all of you enjoy the holidays with friends and family. So that is what we will be doing. And then finally, we have one other bit of information. I'm going to turn it over to Sedge to share. Mr. Sedgley.
Hello, everybody. How are you this evening?
Welcome to your TED Talk.
So, some of you might have heard, and I just want to make an official statement. Last week, due to a major workforce reduction at Festool North America, I was laid off. I no longer work for Festool. I work for the Three Splinters podcast. I'm the head microphone tech.
Yeah.
So,
And he also
I,
comes by and cleans up my shop.
Sharpens his tools.
I spent 18 and a half years there, and I thank Festool for all the opportunities that provided me. No, I'm not reading from a script because it's true. I wouldn't have met you, Ronnie, and I wouldn't have met you, Jason, and I wouldn't have met all the wonderful listeners that are listening now that I have met. Um, so it's onwards and upwards. People have been texting me. I thank you. You've been emailing me. I thank you. Everybody can reach me. My main one for everybody listening is sedgetool@gmail.com. Just remember, I love all you guys. I'm not going anywhere. This provides me more opportunity to push the Sedge Tool YouTube channel and all the other social media channels. Hell, you want to know something, guys? This morning, I actually found out I have an X Twitter account. I have 14 damn followers on X.
It can only go up from there.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So
I don't know
if you've been wondering what I've been up to, Jason saw it yesterday. I started about a month ago. My Zen is cutting hand cut dovetails. And even this morning, I woke up and I cut some more dovetails. And I thought about it, and there's like so much content that I've wanted to create. I just have not had the time. Guess what? I got a little breathing time here, and I'm excited about it. I'm not jumping at anything right now. I'm just enjoying time with Marianne, and Dublin loves it. My dog. I've walked her every day for the 5 days I've been gone. It feels like I've been gone for a couple months. And anybody who's been in that position before, it was quite. I was in shock for like 3 or 4 days. I can't thank Ronnie and especially Jason for being there for me. Uh, in fact, I was totally blindsided, and I didn't. I was in a stupor that first day, and I just hung out with Jason. Ronnie called, and we talked, and we were discussing SplinterCon next year, and we're going to have a meetup. And I said, "Let me check my schedule." And I went, "Oh,
yeah,
I'm free.
I'm free.
I'm free." So,
Yeah, it works
thanks
out good.
everybody who's reached out. Anybody who wants to reach out and chat, please. That's my email. And that's that.
That actually reminds me, we need to set that date. Maybe we can do that before we jump off here so we can get together. Um, well, thank you, Sedge. I know there's quite a few people. I know that there's some stuff that's come out from Festool, but I've received a lot of messages, as I know you obviously have, and Ronnie, I'm sure you probably have too. Just because everybody knows how close we all are, but um, I think there was a lot of people out there that didn't actually know. You know what I mean? They just thought that Festool Live was over. So um, I think it'll be good. We've already talked about it. You got a lot more time for Sedge Tool now, but Ronnie, it's funny. I went over to his house yesterday, and I'm like standing there, and I look on his table saw, and there's like these stacks of wood, and they're all like cut dovetails. I'm like, what? What the heck is this? And he goes, I've been cutting dovetails. I was like, I can see that. I can see you've been cutting dovetails.
Yeah.
That'll be good content.
Yeah, it will
Well,
be.
what it is for me, it's my Zen, and I'm getting back into it. Uh, I actually I posted a post on the Sedge Tool IG account today, and just put Zen with
Oh,
my
did you?
my blue spruce. Hey, and I actually posted it on Twitter or X. So how's that, huh?
Yeah.
I need to get an X account.
Yeah,
Gosh,
man.
I have one, but I haven't been on it for years. Like I never used it for business. I just had it. But yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt to get back on there.
So I had an idea for something that we could talk about today.
Cool.
And there's actually a couple of things I want to talk about, but this one we'll talk about. If we have time, we'll talk about the other thing. But it was I was in my shop today and I was messing with something that I've been messing with over the past couple of weeks off and on.
I just how's my microphone? I think
Good.
Oh, it's good.
it kicked off, but now it's back on.
Yeah, your
Yeah, no,
light's
you
flickering. Your light just flickered when you touched it. It went from green to yellow.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I just went to my sound thing on
But
my
you sound
Mac.
good.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
you sound
Sorry to
good.
interrupt. It might have
You've
start out a little rough.
no, it sounded good even then too. Nothing has changed on our end. Um,
Okay.
but I had this thought today and I was like, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing when you have lots of ways to do the same thing in your shop? And the reason I thought about that today is I'm messing with this box joint jig that Jessam makes,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had it for a while now. I haven't posted anything about it, but I've had it for a while now, and I've been messing with it off and on. And today I was playing with it a lot, and I was thinking in my head, like, okay, I have this. I have, I could quickly make a jig. I've got the Shaper Origin. I used to have the Incra iBox jig, right? So at different times, I've had all these different things, and I was just thinking about it. Well, what if I still had, 4 or 5 different ways of doing this? And what it made me realize when I was thinking about that is how often we forget what we actually have
Mm-hmm.
in order to do a specific task. And the reason for that is because we have 5 different ways to do the same thing. So you quickly start to forget. It's like whatever you remember you have in order to do something, and then you use that, and then that becomes the primary thing, and you forget that you have those other means of doing it, or what is easier, or what will give the desired outcome. And the other thing that has been making me think about this is on that one day vanity build that I did. I did something that was completely unnecessary and over the top and did not needed to be done. And that was in a vanity, like if you're making a really wide vanity,
Mm-hmm.
you really kind of have to have something a little bit more substantial for that top rail across the top, just to prevent, that top piece from sagging. So what I did is, you make that a little bit thicker, and I made it a little bit thicker in terms of depth as well. So I like laminated another piece to it. And because the whole idea behind that video was, um, building it in a day, one of the crucial parts was getting everything together, not using clamps, but still assembling it and continuing to work on the carcass while the glue is drying. So, of course, I was like, oh, I'm going to use my lamello and use some tenso connectors and just snap this piece together with some glue and, let the clips act as clamps. And one of the comments that I got on a post that I did on Instagram was, something funny. Um, and one of our listeners, I believe. And it was something like, insert screws here, or using screws has entered the room or entered the conversation or whatever. And I thought about that and I'm like, that person's totally right. And obviously they wouldn't be visible because they would be on the inside. But how many different ways could I have done that task? I could use a domino. I could use the lamello. I could use, screws. I could, and there's just like all of these different ways that you can do it. And I have all of these tools at my disposal in order to do so. And I'm starting to wonder, is having all of those things and actually a hindrance, or is it actually helping?
Mhm. Like it's
Go ahead.
This one's near and dear to my heart because whenever I post something that I feel like is a useful tip, one of the most common things you get back are the other ways to do things.
Yes.
Right.
People are so dead set on their way. And I find myself,
Yes.
it's where I stop responding back because I want to say the same thing every time. There's many ways of doing that same thing. But here's the thing. I think it's good to have multiple options because sometimes, especially when you're not in the shop, sometimes it's a sliding scale that you know in your head of that I don't want to use a grinder to cope this molding because I'm working in a house and I'm not working outside. I'm going to use a coping saw instead, to not make
Yep.
as big of a mess. If I'm working outside or it's new construction, I'm going to use the quickest way it's going to happen. So sometimes it's noise is a factor. Sometimes the amount of mess it's going to make is a factor. Sometimes you're working up on a scaffolding and it just doesn't make sense to use a big tool. So you have all these different methods of doing the same thing are so important so that you can pull those from your mental toolbox and you know when to use which. Sometimes maybe the way you usually do it, you have a pipe in the way and that won't work. So you have to use the older way. But it's so frustrating. Like I have this one post that just reposted automatically on Facebook. It's the one where I used the wrong size hole saw for my boom arm and I just cut it in a piece of 1/2 inch plywood and I put it back on there and the hole saw was able to run. I got a ton of comments of people saying, just put the other size hole saw inside of the same arbor and cut it. Well, what I didn't say to them was after I cut it, I kind of wished it was back just a little bit more so that the boom arm was sitting at a more of a straight angle, almost like overdoing it. So that piece of plywood allowed me to make that hole larger, but also put it back. And that wouldn't have been possible if I used the arbor trick. So that's where different tricks, different situations call for different tricks. And so I feel like you can't have enough in your tool belt, brain, and toolbox for sure.
What about you, Sedge?
Oh, I agree.
You've seen those comments too, haven't you, Sedge? It's so frustrating because you're like, yeah,
Okay, so
there's
listen.
other
This
ways
is
to
the
do
way.
it.
This is the way I've always described this. Okay, and I'm not going to go too long on this, but there's many ways to skin a cat in the wood shop. That's the way I've always said it. Okay, I'll bring it right to mortise and tenon. Okay, if you've ever hand cut one, and the layout alone is a pain in the patoot. Okay, but people go, I don't want to hand cut that. I'm going to use a table saw and I'm going to use a mortise. Yeah, okay, that's another way. I had those tools in my arsenal. Okay, and then along comes the domino, right? And they go, oh, that's not real wood. Yes, it is. Okay, it's a real piece of wood and it's a mortise and tenon. It's just a loose tenon into mortises, and you have tons of strength in there. So, I do it this way, Ronnie. I do it this way. It's just like joining a face frame. Okay, no one is ever going to see the joinery in the back there. No one's ever going to crawl in the cabinet and look back unless you're changing the plumbing on a kitchen sink or a vanity. Who cares if you use pocket holes? I prefer dominoes if I build a face frame, which I don't build many face frames. You guys know that.
Mhm.
Okay. So there's many ways to skin a cat. Yeah, I've done so many of these things different ways. Sometimes when you're thinking at the beginning, it can be a cause paralysis from analysis. And I always try to find the easiest option. And are people going to see the joinery? If they're not, hey, I might go another easier way. It's just for all these years, I just been using a domino for everything. It's my go-to tool, right? And I know it makes everything so simple. Oh, and
So
so everybody listening, yeah, I don't work for Festival anymore, but I'm still going to use the snot out of it in the Sedge tool shop, and everybody reaching out saying, "Hey," I go, "Of course, I'm only going to use Festool, but there's a few other things that I might bring in now."
yeah.
There's
Well,
options.
I mean that kind of goes. So I agree with what you guys are saying, but the other thing that made me think about this today is while I was messing with that box joint jig when I was in my shop. This is the other thing that I wanted to kind of get into, but it goes perfectly with what we're talking about, and that is when you have all those additional ways to do things, then it means you have a lot more tools, which then it means it takes up a lot more space, which then it means you have more full drawers. And so I was in my shop today and I was like trying to put something away and I'm going to here and I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. I open up this drawer and I'm like, look at all of this stuff. Like, I just keep having all of these things that I need to find a place to live. And Ronnie, what you were saying about like, oh, it's good to have all these different ways. And Sedge, with the mortise and tenon thing, like I agree, you could do a hand cut one. Well, you already have hand tools. So like, you're not going to get rid of those, right? Because there's so many uses for those. You have a domino. Well, you're not going to get rid of that because there's so many other use cases where a domino would be great to join an endless amount of things. So I get that. But then it's like a box joint jig. Well, I have a Shaper Origin and why would I keep a box joint jig to do it at the router table when I could just set up Origin and do it there? And oh, by the way, I could also do dovetails with that. And oh, by the way, I can also do a mortise and tenon, and I can also not have to have a dovetail jig. And so then it gets into this thing where it's like, okay, having lots of ways to do a task is good, yes, but does that mean like it's like saying, okay, I like to do dovetails. I'm going to own 4 different dovetail jigs. Like
No.
like why why
Why?
would you
Why?
yeah why would you want 4 of those to do the same task? So then it brings up this whole other discussion of like, could you like think about for a second, I'm asking both of you, think about this for a second. Imagine if you went through your shop with that in mind of okay,
Mm,
I have
mm,
this
mm.
over here that does all of these tasks, right? I could get rid of that and that and that and that. And like if you were to slim down knowing that I need to do this task, this tool is the tool that I own that does that. Not, well, I could use this and I could use that, or I could use this. How much space do you think you would free up? And more importantly, how much less clutter do you think you
I,
would have?
I got a question. You've been doing this quite a bit. Have you missed your drill press yet?
Not at all.
I know. I didn't think so.
Not one time.
No. Hey, I did a little bit of a cleansing when I saw what the Shaper Origin will do. I got rid of a lot of templates. I'd be willing to bet there's some people who own a Shaper Origin and still are keeping a lot of their circle templates and elliptical templates and stuff like that. You don't need them anymore. And
Yeah,
it's
you can design
really
it one time, cut it anytime you want.
and it's stored right there on your phone when you need it again. Right? And but sometimes those jigs are if you've made them, I've always called them time trophies. How many times have you guys made a jig, a holding fixture to take something by a router bit or a table saw for one job? What do you do with the jig? Do you toss it? No. You
Yeah, you
hang it on
find a
the
corner to
wall,
put it. Yeah.
you store it on a shelf, and you walk by it 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 times going, someday I'll need that again. I call those time trophies because you built it for 2 or 3 hours, right? To make sure it would hold that piece by the table saw blade or router bit. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I threw away, like I said, circle, radius, arc templates. I don't need them anymore because I have my shape of origin. Yeah, amazing, amazing, amazing tool and system.
Yeah.
Is that bench pilot shipping yet? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
cool.
Ronnie.
I, I'm thinking on your question, like the one that comes to mind, probably, I don't know if I can come up with one better than this. The dado, like my Powermatic Big Saw, that's one of the main things that I like to use it for because it can just tear through. I can put that stack on there and I can make a massive, but I could also do it with my router table and I could also do it with my CNC, and they all have a place. They all do. And to think of just standardize down to one of them, I like to have the options because it depends on what is being done to what makes sense, you know, one
Yeah.
off versus a lot of them versus, what kind of material it is. And that's where it's good to have more than one option on things. And the other one would be my Craig pocket hole machine that takes up a decent amount of room, the Foreman. But,
Yep.
we were talking about earlier, about the vanity. There's times probably when you're on a YouTube build where you think about it more than other people would because people are going to see the ins and outs. But it would be a no-brainer for me if there was a joint that's not going to be seen. A lot of times I'm going to just make it a pocket joint. I'm not even going to bother with a domino when you're not going to see it, like it's on the back or something along those lines, because I'm not going to get any extra credit for using a domino. So there's different ways of doing, and sometimes it depends on if it's going to be seen or not. Depends
Yeah.
on, there's time savings on there. There's I think if you're trying though to streamline down to the bare minimum,
Then you're
in
gonna
your
wish you had one of the
you
things
may
that you
gonna
didn't have.
wish you had one. And the whole factor, we've touched on this a little bit before. There's the confusion of marketing also. Sometimes there's a confusion of marketing telling you that you need this tool or this jig or this you need this, and you're like, I don't have that. And it's you maybe you don't need that. That's, and then you buy it and you're like, I bought it because they said I needed it, and then you never use it. That's a whole factor too.
You know what a problem that I think I have, and you guys can probably attest to this too. I look at things more as a content creator than I do as a woodworker, unfortunately. And what I mean by that is that I think it's important for me that has an audience and that likes fancy tools and likes to make videos about those tools. And I would argue that people probably come to my channel primarily because they know I'm probably going to have whatever that really cool or expensive tool is, right? Because that's my personality. Like that, I like to have these things that make life easier. So where I almost feel like I'm questioning myself, right? Because I like the ease of being able to have that thing. But where it comes into a problem for me is that because I have all of those things and I want to try them out and I want to see what makes something easier, it also makes me overthink. And you just said something, Ronnie, that made me think of this. It makes me overthink when I am building something for reasons of YouTube because as a creator, I don't necessarily want to do the same thing every time, every video, because I think that that's something that is good for videos. Is like if I'm going to build cabinetry, don't do it the same exact way every single time. In the videos, demonstrate different ways of doing it. Now, the downside to that is something we've already discussed, which is people saying, "Oh, that's so stupid. Why didn't you just do it another way?" It's like, well, there's a couple of reasons. I'm a content creator and I'm leveraging the fact that I have multiple different ways of doing things. Therefore, I can show multiple different ways of doing things because that's important as somebody who's trying to teach people. So, there I will 100% agree that it's almost a necessity for me to have multiple ways of doing things. The problem is, though, is I feel like we overbuild and we overanalyze things because of all the different options we have. And to be fair, there is a little bit of strategy in there from my side, is that if I do something in an like a ridiculously unnecessary way,
Mhm.
it might spike a little bit of that anger and hatred, which is good for us as creators
Right.
because it gets people talking and they're commenting on the videos, right? And then like, so there is a little bit of that. Like, why would you build that cabinet using, the lamello or the domino or connectors or whatever the case is? Like, that just seems stupid. Well, it is, but thanks for commenting, that kind of thing. So the problem, I go through my drawers now, and a lot of people are going to scoff at us for talking about this part, but getting stuff from brands is cool. Don't get me wrong, everybody listening, right? Getting stuff from brands is cool. Being in a position where if I want to try something, I could write that brand and I could say, "Hey, I'm really interested in trying this," and they would send it to me immediately without question, in the hopes that I would do some sort of content around it, right?
And in that way, it's not free.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Now,
Exactly.
Yeah.
there are so many things in my shop right now, a lot of which I discovered today, that have never come on any content, that just went in a drawer that I tried, I didn't like, didn't create content about it because of it, never really had a use for it. But it gets to a point where it does become overwhelming, the amount of things that you have, to the point where like I tell brands constantly, like, I'm not interested. Don't send it, please. I don't have a need for it. It's just going to sit here, or I'm going to give it away to somebody that comes and visits the shop. Right. So I think that's probably the struggle that really brought this question on, is just like, why do I have this? Why?
If it's not part of your methods, if it's not part of one of your methods that you check off as an option, then I would not hesitate at all at getting rid of it. The ones that I've listed are the ones that I know. Like, for example, coping saw, like doing crown molding, coping saw is my last choice. It's my absolute last choice. Sometimes it's some people's first choice, but I'll use my jigsaw. There's every
Which I
other
saw a
method.
post of yours today on YouTube Shorts doing the
You have a
coping.
Collins Copen foot?
Yep. That's one of my favorite ways of doing it.
Me
But
too.
I tell you, people online sure get upset when they see that Collins coping fit. I can do
Why?
it faster with a coping saw.
No,
I
you
always
can't.
hear that. I'm like, no,
No,
you
you
can't.
can't.
But
No, you can't.
even if you could, if you were doing a whole house for my arm's not going to be tired. I'm going to be in better shape at the end. And then some people are like, well, I could use a grinder and did it faster than that. Well, where are you working that you can use a grinder to do
Yep.
crown molding? Are you taking it outside? Or are you just breathing in all that dust? So there's different methods of doing it. I don't ever use a grinder. I tried the method before to see. I put a flap disc on there, but I'm a coping foot on the jigsaw is so much faster than the grinding it away.
You're very good at it, by the way.
Well, I've had a lot of practice.
The video
with it.
came up in my shorts today on YouTube.
Did it really?
It did.
Gosh, that one has almost 30 million views on
Wow.
YouTube.
I had never seen it until today.
Really, it has 29 million. I just looking the other day, 29,400,000, I believe, is what the views are on that.
That's really impressive. Look how crispy is on that line.
But you wouldn't believe the comments you were talking about.
That was done by AI.
It angers people when they see it because they're like, use a coping saw, dude. And then people are like, your blade's too long on your. No, that's what they recommend. They recommend that blade. And your teeth are too aggressive. No, that's exactly what's recommended. And then some people are like, hack. I'm like, oh, okay. I know there's people who use that. They're not hacks.
Well, no, what's funny is that you're actually coping your molding, and you're being called a hack.
Yeah.
Is where I'm the guy shoving 245s into a corner that ain't 90.
Just last night, my comment was, looks like a hack job. And I was like, I responded back to it. I said, actually, anybody who's a veteran in the business has this as one of the methods in their toolbox. He's like, I've been a carpenter for 35 years.
Of course.
And
of
course you have.
At least 30 years, all the time.
35 years. And I was like, well, I said, I'm glad you have that experience, but your comment of saying it was a hack job made me think that you didn't have the experience. So I kind of just put it back at them because anybody that says that's a hack, no, it's not. That's the way they used to do molding. That's kind of a cheap method we do, the double a miter on both sides. That's kind of a newer thing. And there's a reason why, it wasn't done a long time ago. But there's people that are dead set on coping. No need to do it. But I've found a lot of times it's people who work on,
Who the hell
I get that all
says
the time.
that?
I get that all the
Outside
time.
and inside, you always cope.
Well, here's my theory. I think there's a lot of people that are production trim carpenters on houses that are mass produced. They go in there, they do the molding, it gets caulked, painted, everything. They look and go, man, that looks nice. They leave. They never see the house again. They never see it again. They never see the miters open up. They never see all that. They just think, oh, it's perfect forever. And I think that's where there's the big discrepancy of people saying that coping is useless and not needed because they never see it. Nobody ever
Yeah,
calls
that's
them back. You
same
know?
thing. Why do you
Yeah.
why do when you install cabinets, why do you scribe your filler strips? I look at people and go, "What?" They go, "No, you
Oh,
just
they're
put this
straight up.
bendable molding in there on top of them." That's Fort Lauderdale, dude.
Uh, yeah,
Yo,
that's
you know what's
frustrating.
funny? I never thought about that until you just said that, Sedge. I've always questioned like the whole coping thing only because when I try it or when I do it, I've done it into a couple places in this house and just to because I was like, screw it, I'm going to do it just because, right? I'm just to practice it. Um and I get better and better each time that I do it, but I've always looked at it and gone, why it's baseboards? Like why do I care if the baseboards are coped? But what you talk about scribing a filler strip, that's honestly the exact same
Yeah,
conversation. Like,
Uh-huh.
it
why wouldn't
is.
you just jam it in there and then just caulk the seam or do this and that? And I never thought about it like that. Like, I take the time to put that filler strip and scribe it. Like,
Yeah,
why
So
not take
I
that extra 2 seconds to do the few corners?
right.
I bit the bullet. It's not really biting a bullet. I just got a new tool and I'm going to start working with it. I'm not going to create content on it right away. I want to use it. And I have been sniffing around it for a couple, 2 or 3 or 4 years, but Patrick bought it and it's called the Thingamajig.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. Yep. For the scribing.
It's, by the way,
Yeah.
it's badass.
Is
Yeah.
it?
It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen it.
You can dial it in on your gap and just scribe away. Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
It's awesome.
That's cool. I'm always looking for a good scribe. That's
Yep.
another
And that
example.
one's really nice.
Hey, there's
Yeah.
another example. Sometimes the compass old school is the best thing to use. Sometimes it's one of the newer fangled things like the big black one like Fast Cap has. I have different
I hate
different
that
scribe
thing.
methods based on what I'm doing. That's
I
another example.
and that's something where buying different things over the years, I tried them 2 or 3 times and I just didn't like them. Sometimes the simplest thing is a carpenter's pencil,
Yeah.
on the flat. There's a lot of things, but this one made sense when I was talking to Patrick about it, how it
Yeah.
actually scores it.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, yeah, I see that because it's three carbide triangle blades that you
Yeah.
can turn around. It's pretty cool.
So what I've used with success sometimes I use my finger. I just take my finger and put it up when it's something just a gradual, you can just put your finger up against the backside of it and put the lead on the other, and it just completely perfectly scribes it. Depends
What
on the
Yeah.
what I
material.
f- what I find myself if I have a like really like good area, good space to like I'm not restricted, you're like in a tight corner or something like that. I usually just take a scrap piece of whatever the material is
Hmm.
and I have a couple different marking knives that, are flat-sided on the back. And I'll just plop it up against that and just follow the wall with that tiny little strip, pull the tape off.
Yeah,
Kind of
it
the
works
same
good.
exact idea as the thingamajig. What
Yep.
I like about that tool though is how easy it is to dial in
Yes.
Mhm.
the distance
Yep.
that you need.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So
There,
I have
see,
a
we're talking about having too many ways to do things, and now I'm like,
well,
okay, I'm gonna
well,
buy the thingamajig, and I'm
well.
You're good.
Somebody comes out. No, but somebody comes out with something better.
yeah,
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
don't look the other way on innovation.
no,
You
no,
know,
no, Yeah.
Never, ever. And it sounds funny because I look at things sometimes, I go, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. That'll get me out of a certain situation. Yeah. Somebody was really thinking this through when they designed this like little, you know, whatever jig or something. I go, yep. Yeah. It's a better method. It's a better way of doing something.
You know, you were talking about being a content creator and you struggle with sometimes. I think back to my boy Norm Abram. You know what he used to do a lot on New Yankee Workshop? He would be doing something like Dados and he'd have his routers set up and he would show his first groove and he would say, I've got it set up, explain exactly what he was going to do. He's like, now I could keep continuing with this, but there's a better way. And he would go to his radial alarm saw and show that he had it marked and he was doing that. And it's interesting because he showed those two methods. Nowadays, I don't know if there's advantage to doing that because you're saving a lot of comments, you're saving a lot of questions and interaction with your channel if you show those two methods because
Hmm.
people aren't going to question it because you showed it. But that wasn't a factor back then. So he would just try to lay it all out there and try to be as accurate as possible. And I always liked that he did that. He did that a lot. Because he would have some newfangled tool at the time, that no one else had. He knew no one else had it. And he would show the way he used to do it before he had that tool.
Hmm.
Yep. I remember that, Ronnie. He would always do that.
Yep, he always did that.
I think he did that in that poker table video you sent me.
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Poker.
He even does it to the level of, remember he had a laser on his miter saw when no one else did, and he would mark his line and bring his blade down to the line and say, okay, he goes, now this saw has a laser. I'm going to turn it on. It saves me from having to bring my blade down. It saves a lot of time. It's really nice, but he did show what he would do without that too.
Hmm.
That was always interesting. I think this winter I might go back and watch. They've got like 30 or 40 of them at least out on YouTube. Go back and watch a lot of those again. It's been a long time since I've seen a lot of those because
I need
there's still good things in there. There's good. He reminds you that there's easy ways to do things that we think we have to have something in a drawer or a specific tool to do it. He reminds us that it used to be simpler. Even in the 80s, it was simpler before all this marketing happened.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, it's funny because another form of marketing is people on YouTube that are, pitching products and stuff. And I don't know, man. I'm just getting so like being out in the shop today and then, messing with that jig, which the jig is great, by the way, the box joint jig from Jessam, which
Okay,
I'm
stop.
might be doing.
Stop right there. You just said something where you just said, well, that Jessam box joint jig is great, right? Have
Yeah,
you ever produced content for the sake of producing content in a piece or tool or anything that you did not believe in?
no,
Neither have I. So that's what I
no.
just wanted to point out real quick before. Sorry, keep going. What
Yeah.
you were
Well, I
saying.
mean, but that I'm glad you brought that up because that is one of the reasons why I have so much additional crap in the shop that I just haven't gotten rid of. And it's not that like everything is a piece of crap and it's not good. It's just like I already have 6 of these. Measuring devices, another amazing example. Like don't get me wrong, Woodpeckers makes great stuff, but they have a lot of different variations of the same thing. And guess what? Other companies have variations of the same thing. And it's like, how many different ways to measure 12 inches do you really need? Like this, this edge rule, and then like the T rule, and a hook rule, and this rule, and that rule. And it's like, a lot of that is the marketing side of things. But
Oh,
at the end of the day,
behave.
at the end of the day, it's like a tape measure. I use those all the time. Some sort of like, the tiny T or the Polini or, which I use 95% of the time. And then there's those rare occasions where I need to do repeatable things at different lengths. And that's where those T squares come in really handy. Outside of that, like I've gotten rid and given away so much of that stuff that I just don't need, or having one that's metric and one that's imperial and one that's both. It's just like simplify it, get the ones that are both, right? And then like get rid of all these other ones. Or how many squares do you really need? Like you don't need
Yeah,
that many.
yeah. Oh, you need hundreds.
No,
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
where
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah, you
marketing
do.
thing
Yeah,
You
yeah,
comes
yeah,
need
in.
you
yeah, yeah,
need
yeah.
you need a stainless steel set and a red set.
Yeah. But then it's like
I got a set.
I don't know. I'm going here's another good
I keep
example.
this one in my pocket.
I had the Craig Foreman pocket hole jig. Great. Awesome. I told somebody the other day, I was like, hey, where I got my speakers done in the truck, like the guy makes like boxes there and does like custom speaker boxes and all that stuff. And he has a shop and a CNC that does all this stuff. And he's like, usually we just use glue and brad nails, but I'm thinking about getting a pocket hole machine. I wanted, because he knows I have a YouTube channel. I was like, I wanted to get your thoughts. And I was like, honestly, the Craig Foreman, if you're going to be doing a lot of them with big panels, it would be a fantastic way to do it. He looked at the price and I could tell that maybe he didn't want to invest that much. Maybe he didn't need $350 to spend. He was like, well, I was looking at one of these, and he showed me the clamp on one that had the two holes. And I'm like, absolutely not. No way.
Mm-mm.
It'll drive you nuts. I said, here's a really good alternative. And I told him the 720 Pro, which is the one that has the two little arms that fold down. It
Mhm.
auto adjusts to the thickness of the material. It's got support on both sides. That's a really good in between that'll get you by on everything. I have one of those. I also have the Castle 110 pocket hole drilling machine. And I like open up a drawer and there's that Castle 110 right next to the Craig. And I'm like, why do I have both of these? And so while you could argue, and I would say that the Castle does absolutely make a better pocket, and there are advantages to it, it's incredibly loud. It's cumbersome to use compared to the other. It does a better job and result without question. You can't argue that. But do I need both of those now? No. Why do I have them both in there? And guess what? Like you said, when are the pocket holes ever visible? They're not.
Mm-mm.
They're not. So like get rid of one of them. Like why have both of those there? Like they both do the same thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I think if it's something that similar, you could decide your favorite and then get rid of the other one because chances are you're never going to use the one you don't like. Like if you think the
Yeah.
other one's too loud or that kind of thing.
Well, like
Yeah.
I thought of something else. You know how everybody is making these domino killers, the stupid freaking titles of the thumbnails. Jessam has one. Craig has one. Um, who else did I see recently that came out with one? There's all these like Chinese knockoffs that you can get off
Hmm?
Amazon that like you can hook a router up to and all this stuff. And there's been times where I've thought about it, and like I know other people have made the videos, but you know, I wouldn't be making the video necessarily for like some sort of like monetary gain. And I'm a diehard Festool guy, so like, of course, the domino is just easier. Like you can't argue that.
Just
But it gets me kind of like, I don't know, it might be kind of cool to like have that and try it out as somebody who loves the domino and see and do a time test and all this stuff. And then I'm like, why? Why? Then I'm going to have all of these extra things that do the same stupid thing, and like, I know my video is not going to like sway people away from the domino. It's just like, no, this is faster. Like, this is why you spend the extra money. But there are going to be people who are interested in that less expensive alternative. I don't know. Like, it just,
I just
I
can't
got
imagine.
so like anxious today in the shop. That's what caused this conversation.
Yep.
I can't imagine using a tool like the domino that was not completely accurate. It'd be the most frustrating thing ever because you would go to glue up and you'd be off, like it'd be high or low on one side, like it wouldn't line up. And think how much work that's going to add. And I just feel like that any company, I might be wrong. I feel like any company that develops a tool that's as accurate as the Festool one, the engineering and everything that goes into it, it'll need to be a pretty decent price. They're not going to
Well,
find a way to make one $200.
so
You know?
look at the first track saw that came out to rival us. It was the DeWalt one, right? It came out at the same price. Everybody thought they were going to get a deal, and no. So
Yeah.
what was funny about it was I was at in Vegas at AWFS once with I was in the booth at Festool with Christian Olcher and this he's a big tall guy. He was the CEO at the time for North America, and then walks this other tall guy with a DeWalt shirt, and they start talking German, and They had just released the DeWalt track, so it was really funny. And Christian and him just shooting the shit, and and then all of a sudden, I go, "What was that all about?" After he left, he goes, huh. He goes, "That was the engineer on the DeWalt track saw." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "They hired I go, "They hired a German." He goes, "Yeah, I think they had to." And everybody realized all the all of what has to go in to produce a good track saw. And I just can't use the DeWalt because it works off a parallelogram. It's just weird plunging action. I just
Mm.
can't use it. And
Yeah,
now,
that
I mean, Menards came out with one for $79.
yeah, but perfect example. Same with the track saw. I mean, we're cutting into material. Sometimes it's so expensive, and I can't doubt the performance of it. I need to know
Mm-hmm.
that it's going to cut where it's going to cut.
Mm-hmm.
And using mine as a joiner, I don't think a lot of people use their track saw as a joiner regularly. You
I
know,
do.
there's a lot of
I
people who
do a
don't.
lot. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
outline for a YouTube video that I worked on last week actually. It's a video I wanted to do for a really long time and it's talking about alternatives to jointing.
Yep.
And if I have a board that's 6 feet long,
Mm-hmm.
I will always use a track saw over the jointer.
Oh,
And
so
that's like the
much
big
easier.
whole genesis of the video is like talking about watch what
Yeah.
happens when I take this board that's curved and I'm running it across the jointer. Like this is where a track saw comes in really handy. Um,
Yeah.
Remember that, Ronnie, down in Austin? Uh, that time,
Oh yeah.
Cam
and
just
it's
looked at,
faster.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cam looked at us. There was one guy, a maker there that I didn't know. And he was using the jointer and did about 20, 30
Mhm.
passes. And he could have done it in one pass with a track saw. He just
And,
didn't know how to use a track saw.
it was interesting because Cameron has never seen that method before. So he was completely just blown away that somebody was doing that because he knew that you could do it in one pass with a track saw. And so the person's twice his age, at least. So he backed off. He came over and said something to me instead. He's like, "Why, Dad? Why are they not?" I'm like, "That's the way that some people just think you have to do it.
And
They don't trust the machine."
and it was interesting because that was his way and that's the way he was going to do it.
Right.
He
Right.
didn't want to learn a new way or a new way of doing it to him.
And
That's called change. People fear change.
and
Well,
then he
here,
said
hold
eight
on,
quarter. He said eight quarter also. He didn't think the track saw would cut through eight quarter.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
let's
right.
talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this for a second. So, name some other ways that you can do it. Right? If you have a sliding table saw, obviously
Yep.
amazing. Another huge benefit to owning a sliding table saw. A lot of people don't know this, but most router tables
Yep.
have it built into the fence for
Yeah.
this
Yep.
reason specifically, and it will give you
Yep.
a extremely clean cut with today's router bits.
Right. It's a
Yep.
Right?
joiner on its
So
side, pretty much.
Yep.
think
That's
about that.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Why do you need a joiner?
Yeah. So there would be a
Why?
good example of when I was talking about the dado stack. For smaller boards, yeah, maybe the router table. But as you get larger and it's a heavy board, it's nice to use a track saw and not even bring it to the joiner.
Yeah. That's one of the titles that I actually want to use for the video is like, do you really need a jointer? Because when you look at it like that, you literally could joint because like for me, a router table, I'm not going to take an 8 foot long board to the router table unless I have some crazy thing set up to like keep it steady. But I would argue there are very few things better to joint an edge on a small piece that like isn't over tipping the table too much on a router table than a
Right.
router table.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
if you're getting rid of all the large things and you don't really a lot of people get very nervous using a jointer for very small things, rightfully so, right?
Hmm.
Why do you really need a jointer?
Yeah.
To join a face? Sure.
Yeah. I was
Yes.
just going to say to face the board.
But what can you do that on? You can do that on a planer. That
Yep.
doesn't mean
On a
it's
CNC.
easier. It doesn't mean it's easier.
With a
It can
carrying jig. Yep.
And
exactly.
that
So
it depends on
you
what you
could you
build.
could go down this rabbit hole, but like then we go back to like, yeah, but it's really nice to just walk over and use that thing when you need it, because yes,
Yeah.
it's a valid argument. But before you
Yeah.
know it, you have all of these different things in your shop that do the same thing essentially. And like, do you really need all of these things? And sometimes when I'm looking for something and I can't find it, but I know I have it, I put it somewhere.
Oh, don't go there.
That's part of it though. That's part of it. Is like I know I have
I know
this
I put
thing that
this
I
away.
need.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know I have this.
I, I
Happened to me
just,
this weekend.
it
Drove
happened
me
to,
batshit crazy.
you know what happened to me when I took the right hand side of the van out for Cameron to build our little quick bunk beds for Makers Camp like 2 weeks ago? You would not believe what I found behind the little bit of the roundness of the back van wall. I found two Festool 12-volt drills, an 18-volt drill, um, a Craig jig that like the 30 the cup hinge jig was
Yeah.
back there. All these things that had just somehow fallen back and we didn't know it. And they were all things I didn't think I lost. I wasn't exactly sure where they were. And I found
I didn't
I
lose them. I
took
just don't know where they are.
I sent Cameron a
There were
picture.
two CXS drills themselves back there.
Not the older CXS drills, the new ones with the little small batteries, the 12 volts. I
Yeah.
had two of those back there and one 18 volt. Um, and I sent Cameron the picture before I touched any of it. He knew exactly what it was. It was by the wheel well. I said, "Look what I found." He was like, "Those are all the drills. We didn't know where they were." I was like, "Yeah, it's crazy that you can." I knew they weren't lost, but I didn't know exactly where they were. Because
Wow.
when you're working in more than one
In
place,
some
you've
countries,
got.
they might call that lost. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we did find them, and it was kind of like Christmas.
Wow.
It's interesting. But you were talking about, I mean, I think the longer you go without doing that kind of like deep, like clean or redoing shelves and stuff, there's things that get lost or pushed even in a workshop, like behind a cabinet can fall
Hmm.
back and you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. But
Well, being out there today, that I also now this goes down the rabbit hole of like the importance of being super organized, knowing where everything is. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I can
Well,
open up
mine,
drawers. I'd like to think that I'm organized, but I open up drawers and I just get anxiety because I'm like, why is this in here? This isn't part of this thing. And this is my Bessie drawer. This is my TSO drawer. This is my Jessam drawer, whatever the case
I
is. Like all the things, they're in that place. Like, why
well,
is it over here in this
you,
drawer? That
my,
and I despise wasting time looking for something.
oh,
oh
it's
That is my
terrible.
biggest damn pet peeve.
It's awful. My mistake on that one was I had a slot for each one of the drills, but found out that each slot would hold more than one. So we would put sometimes two in there. But the
mm,
problem was the back had about a 5 inch in the backside. They had been pushed out so far they fell off the back in the back of it. So it was kind of like it ate it. It was like a drill eating machine. So we had enough of them we didn't notice. We just kept putting them back in there. But slowly I was losing them and I wasn't losing. I was losing them to my own property, but it was awesome. Should have put it back on that cabinet.
yeah.
The van walls should be straight. They don't realize how much
Yeah.
people that build racking,
Perfect.
even companies, it's hard to deal with that curve.
Yep.
If the van walls were
Absolutely.
straight, that curve, that slow curve, ends up being about 5 inches, about 3 feet tall. It's a pain, but yeah,
It's such a waste of space, isn't
it
it? You got to
is.
find a way to use it.
It is. I've got some leftover PEX copper pipe, my electric fiberglass push rods. I've got a lot of things like stuck in there in that
Yeah.
space just because it is such a waste of space. But yeah, looking for something. It happened to us not long ago with hole saws. I don't know why, but we cannot keep up with our hole saw arbors and things like that. And I'm always having trouble getting those hole saws off the arbors, even with the little new,
Yep.
two pins that lock.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to take two pairs of channel locks and just go at it so hard. I don't understand. If there was a company that made better ones, which there may be, I would be all about it. And I have some nice ones. I have the Linux set, I have different ones, but all of them seem like they bind down and you cannot get the arbor off from it once you
Mm.
use it. So somebody tell us if there's a better one out there.
I like the Lennox with the two pins. That's what I've been
That's
using for many
that's
years.
that's our favorite right now, but I still
Yeah.
get them where they lock
Yeah,
onto
they
there. And
still lock on and bind, huh?
yep, they still do. And I've tried not tightening them up all the way and think it would be better. Like instead of tightening it down, just barely put it on there and put the pins in
Mhm.
there.
But no, it
But
seizes it up. You give a little leeway, a little slop, it'll hurt.
yep, it gets bound or
Yeah.
What will it
something.
do?
Hurt.
Erp.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a standard. Erp. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wrote a book about it. It's called Erp.
Yeah. Uh, I have too many stupid things and I just want to get organized. I need to
But
make that a priority
you
next
know,
year.
you're also going back to the who was the wise rapist that said more money, more problems. You know, more money, more problems. I
Did
think
you
that was
say
such
the
a
wise
yeah,
rapist?
The wise
the
rapist.
wise rapist that
The
said
wise criminal
Didn't your
rapist.
didn't
mo
your great
money.
grandmother though coin that
Yeah.
term and then everybody copied her?
Yeah, she was that was when she was doing a hard time in the
Yeah.
penitentiary.
Yeah.
But the but yeah, that I think a lot about the mo money, mo problem thing. Sometimes what we complain and stress about, that was such a wise statement because someone could be complaining about all the car taxes they had to pay or their house taxes or they're overwhelmed by this tool or being too many. And it's all because it's just we have so much stuff and it's just general in our country. I think we just have so much. But in a shop, it's hard to let go and say, I don't need this or I'm not going to use this again. But I've heard before, I think Sedge has a rule. Do you have a rule about how long before, if you haven't used a tool for a certain
That
amount of
was
time?
that
That
was
was Ben.
Ben.
Yeah,
That
that was
was
Ben.
Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that got us on that kick for a while where we were like, and I did go through and look at stuff, but it's you just end up accumulating so much stuff. And then going back to what I was saying earlier about getting stuff from brands, it may sound ridiculous to the person listening to this that like, isn't able to get stuff sent to them or whatever. Like I'm not trying to sound ungrateful, but what a lot of people don't understand is that when you're in that position, like you end up getting all of this clutter, even though I will give it away to people locally in most cases or ask on social media. It's you have to have a place to put all that stuff, right? And not everything is created equal, and some of it's even hard to get rid of, and some of it just belongs to or deserves to go right in the trash.
well, and there's also the what it does to your brain. Like True Position Tools sent me the cabinet marking jig for the
I
back of
got
a
it too.
cabinet. They sent it to me probably, gosh, it's probably been a year and a half ago. I still have not had the opportunity to use it. I can't
Yeah.
wait to use it. I can't wait
Yeah.
to. But in the back of my mind, somewhere in my RAM and my brain, I know that I still haven't did a post about that tool. I haven't, and they sent it to me
It's
with
a
no,
Right.
obligation. But
the video we just dropped that was in there.
was it? Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
wait to
Oh,
use it.
Oh,
absolute.
the
Not the no
hardware
no
jig.
not that. No, just the regular
Yeah.
Oh,
jig.
the regular
Yeah.
Yeah, I
jig.
saw
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
but the
It
the
was like
other
there was the
one,
top new tools in my shop for this year.
yeah,
I
that's a
did a
good one.
review on them. The TSO shelf. I love that thing for the MFT.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's great.
I look forward to using that cabinet jig because that's always been a struggle when, especially like on bathroom vanities. You kind
Hmm.
of almost have to guesstimate where it is, hoping you'll get it close enough that that collar will hide on the back of the cabinet. But I look forward to using that. To be nice, but it's just finding the right opportunity. But when you multiply that times 10 or 20,
Mm-hmm.
sending you like gifts and they're all waiting to see it, it adds to your stress level in your brain of just the weight that you're carrying, of having to do a post about it. I think that's
Yeah.
part of it too.
I like working with companies that I'll say, yeah, I'd love to have that, but you got to give me time because I want to mess with it first.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
That's good. Or have
you
the right
know.
opportunity to use it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, I
Yeah.
think you get to a point though too. Is it, what I used to look at it like that and say, well, if I get it, I'm going to do a post about it. So I always felt that obligation in the back of my mind, like, God, I've had this for months. But now I just make it very clear. I'm like, you can
Right.
send it to me, but I am not guaranteeing you anything. And, they'll always write back and be like, oh, no strings attached. And then, a couple of months go by or a couple of weeks go by. And what do you
Have you
get? A
had a
message
chance?
from the country and be like, hey, just wanted to see,
Yeah.
you
How's it
haven't done
working
anything
out?
yet. It's like, look, I made it very clear, or you made it very clear. Um, I will get to it when I get to it, right? But like when you pile that up and you have 20 different things, and then again at the end of the day too, is as if you're somebody that's running a business, and all of us are, um, and my primary sole business being content creation, which generates revenue, which generates, you know, clicks and affiliate revenue and all that stuff. Like that is the job. When you start to look at your time and how much time you have, it gets really difficult to prioritize, you know, try to prioritize something where you're not getting any sort of revenue stream from at all. and you doing it is more of a favor, right? The kindness of your heart, right? To promote something. If you have other things that you know are going to generate revenue, like it would be silly not to do that.
That's
It's just like
that's the
when you
that,
stop
go ahead.
answering comments or you stop posting to Instagram or these things that like killing time but not making any money.
Yeah.
It's interesting because even a lot of companies don't realize that. And I mean big companies, they think, "Oh, you make money on YouTube?" They don't know. And
Yeah.
you got to educate those companies, you know? Um,
Yeah.
hey, listen, Mike, yeah, you can send me something, but I may not have the opportunity to, it'll be in the background, but I may not have the opportunity to focus on it in a video. And I may not, and if I don't like it, I say this, if I don't like it and I've never used it and I got to get used to it, I better like it,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm not going to go out there and say, oh, yeah, this is the greatest. And it's not.
Yeah. I have one of those that comes to
It's
mind.
called integrity.
I have one that they sent it to me. I didn't reach out to them. They reached out to me and they said, "Hey, we want you to try it." And I was excited about it. I tried it and I was like, they were like, "What'd you think?" This is like what Jason was talking about. It was like a month or two later, maybe more than that. And I was like, to be honest, I didn't like it. And they're like, "Really?" They're like, "Well, we're developing another model that's instead of made out of plastic, it's made out of metal." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds better. That'll fix the issues that I was having." They're like, "As soon as we get it developed, we'll send it over to you." They sent that to me. I didn't like it. So I
Really?
was like, "Yes." It was a caulk gun, which I'm sure you might have seen. They started carrying them at Home Depot now. It's a little short caulk gun,
Yes, I know
and
exactly what you're talking about.
I was
Yep.
excited about it because caulk guns are bulky. They don't fit in things. I thought this will fit in a sustainer. I was so excited about it. But here's my big thing about it. The kinds of caulk that I use and the adhesives and things that I tried it with,
They're
that
too
blade
thick.
couldn't cut that tube. And they told me the metal one would be better, but I didn't find that out. I didn't find it that way. I found it frustrating to use, and I'm I could never post about it. They expected me for me to do it, but I never did because it doesn't work for me. I don't know what kind of caulk tube it would work for because it didn't like the DAP plastic type tubes either.
I
It's
know
a great,
it's
it's a
real
great,
short and stubby,
yes,
and as you do
yes,
it, it cuts it. Yeah.
yes, yes,
So you're basically just holding a caulking tube. Yeah.
yes. It's a
Hmm.
great idea. And I really was hoping that would work. I was excited about it when they said they were sending it, but I still like my old standby caulk gun, the one
Yeah.
that's the yellow one that you can get from, that's just, it's funny. It seems like the fancier caulk guns are, the less I like them. I like the ones that just back off a little bit, but I can control them better.
While I was uh, letting Pepper out real quick, I heard what you guys were saying, Sedge, and you were talking about like sharing things with your audience and the expectations um, of like a brand that sends you something.
Mhm.
It's like the way I look at
Be
it
right back.
is I have a audience that I have built over many years and many hours and many attempts at entertaining them with a YouTube video or teaching them something, right? So like I feel like I worked very hard to build that trust with that audience. And the expectation from a lot of these companies and brands is it's like the same mentality with somebody that gets into social media. And COVID created overnight superstars, right? Overnight famous, I'm using air quotes, famous people, okay? Because they'd post one post on TikTok and they went viral and they became these massive, you know, social media uh, celebrities. I think some companies kind of have that same hope and thought of, especially the ones that are like just starting to dabble with social media. They think that by sending a free product that I am providing you so much value, right? Saving you so much money. And it's like 9 times out of 10, the item that you're talking about sending me is something that I would never buy in the first place, right? So it's like you're never really saving money. Now there are exceptions out there, big name brands that everybody wants. Sure, there's a huge population of people out there that want stuff free, and we'll shout about it to the rooftops on how awesome it is because they're in that early phase of I can get free stuff, right? And there's a lot of problems with that on social media, but the way I look at it now is that if you want me to talk about your brand or your product, you sending me the product shouldn't even be a conversation. The conversation should be, what monetary value is it worth for you to get access to my audience that I curated and trusts me because the things that I have talked about, I pointed them in the right direction and they're happy with that purchase, right? You never hear like the channels who make something and everybody buys everything they talk about and they're upset about all of it. That doesn't exist, right? Those people don't they'll just stop watching the videos of that individual and they won't buy anything after that. They may get a lot of one-time purchasers, but you don't build a consistency over time by talking about a bunch of crappy things that people bought and are upset with. No, they keep buying the things that you talk about because you led them in the right direction on that one, and you did it on that, and you did it on those other 5. I trust what this guy says. So you've built that reputation, you've built that brand, and a lot of agencies or a lot of brands don't realize they think that they're doing you a favor by providing you with a tool in the hopes of getting it on your platform. Well, no. Like you're basically paying for a center or a full page ad in whatever magazine.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
With more
That
eyes
lives
seeing it.
that lives forever.
Yeah, with more eyes seeing it than the magazine will see it.
So I don't need to.
So,
We're sending you the tool and that's worth this much. No. Okay. That's the retail value that you sell to consumers. That's not what you pay for it. And oh, by the way, again, if you want me to promote this product, I need to have the product and I'm not buying it because you're asking me to promote it. You better send it to me. Right? Like that's out of the question. Like you're going to send it to me, but now let's talk. If you want prime time on the Super Bowl, right? On any person's YouTube channel, it's the Super Bowl. Like, what are you willing to pay to get your commercial in that?
it's nicely said.
And I think a lot of people, man, you know what? This would have been a great conversation for an after show.
Yep.
We need to have an after show. There's so much.
That's a great idea, Ronnie.
We should do it.
Yeah, Ronnie.
Well, we're not doing it today, but I figured we could at least tease people and let them know that we are going to be transitioning to an after show with the new year, everyone.
Yeah.
That was Ronnie's idea, just to be clear.
Yep. That was Ronnie's idea.
They
They had to tell me what an after show was. I understand it now.
Yeah.
When you talk about all the secrets.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna have an after show starting in 2026. However, guess what? Only available for patrons.
Cool.
Even more reason to become a patron, everybody.
Yep.
But that's how I envision an after show to be like, where you can get into those conversations. Because I don't think we've ever gotten that like into and heated on that discussion. But that would be a very interesting thing to talk about. Or even more specifics. Know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
But yeah.
For sure. And there's other things that only patrons are interested in. For example, like the SplinterCon details. Con. You know, we always have to be aware that a big audience is listening that maybe is not part of the patron and SplinterCon. So we always have to limit what we, don't want to share, like bore people with it, but we can talk more about the event in that after show as well. What were you going to say?
I was just thinking we could actually have like discussions about the planning of the next event in the after show and then get feedback from people that listen to it. Another idea that I did here, or I know some people do, is they will do an after show and they will have like a waiting room for like a YouTube live.
Oh yeah,
I like
be
that.
Cool.
Where you basically jump out of one and jump into the other.
Yeah.
My concern though is on those, they would just end up going really, really long. And then I would
Yeah.
obviously end up having a problem. Be like, guys, I gotta go. I
Well,
gotta go get the boys.
we would still have the cutoff, or the hard cutoff that we've always had anyway, because of all of our, especially yours with your boys.
I think the good medium is to have it to where we open up some sort of live chat that people could be listening live
Yes,
to the after show and ask questions
yeah,
or respond to what we're talking about. And then when we post that video,
Hmm.
it's already there.
yes,
Yeah, and we'd have the hard stop for just a half hour, 30 minutes.
yeah,
We
yeah,
don't want to continue it because then it turns into another beers with the boys.
right. Which
Yeah.
that's
Can you after shows 7 hours?
yeah, but that's just another perk of being a patron, other than winning all kinds of cool prizes all the
Yeah.
time.
Or getting access
throughout
to
the-
SplinterCon.
What was it?
Con.
It's gone. Was my math correct that when everybody attended SplitterCon won like 2.75 things? Is that about right?
2.75 million.
No, is it 2.75? Like that's what it came out to be.
Yeah.
Almost
Oh,
three. It
yeah.
was
We
almost
got into the
three.
third round.
It was almost they almost won three things just on that event alone. Not to mention our giveaways, not to mention beers with the boys. Some people do the bourbon with the boys, and then we'd have the after show.
It's actually one of the questions I asked on the survey. I did pretty much this exact same questions we did from the year before because I thought it gave us a lot of good data. But one of those questions was, do you think the coming to the event was worth the investment? And the most common thing that came back was the giveaways alone made it worth it.
Oh,
I mean,
very
heck, one
cool.
guy won $7,000 dust collector, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
baby.
that's a pretty good.
yeah.
Pretty good
It was.
return
These
on
aren't
investment.
these aren't small little chintzy things either. They're nice things. And it's probably a good time to remind anybody listening, if you haven't filled out the survey, to make sure you
Oh
get
yeah,
that into us, because we're going to be meeting about that soon.
yes, next week. Which, speaking of that, let's wrap this up so we can real quickly before I got to go get the boys.
Okay,
Take a look at the calendar.
let's do it. Hey, everybody, thank you. And thanks for reaching out and saying hi to me. I really appreciate it. I love all the well wishes. Onwards and upwards. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I can't think of anything better.
Bye bye.